So I'm going to be the only speaker tonight that comes up here without anything written down, because that's how I roll, and now I feel like a moron. But I like to crack jokes and make fun of myself, so it works out really well, actually. And my name is Michelle Day, and I, too, am a recovering addict. And I'm also, just in general, somebody who struggles with a lot of, I like saying mental health issues. I feel like it sounds a lot better than saying mental illness, because I feel like if something's wrong with me when I say I'm mentally ill, although a lot of people that know me would tell you that I'm mentally ill. And here's the deal. I like to make light sometimes, because there is so much dark that has happened in my life and that has happened to people that I love that sometimes I just need to laugh. So I'm going to share a little bit about that tonight. I was raised in an interesting home, Jewishly. My parents divorced when I was about 18 months old, and my dad, who is quasi-Jewish, married a non-Jewish woman, and my mom, who is Jewish, married an Orthodox Jewish man. So I went into an environment where I was 90% of the time Orthodox and 10% of the time not Jewish. It's a little, wow, I wasn't even expecting that one to be funny. I'm off to a good start. This is great. So basically, like, it was a very confusing upbringing for a child, and it was very combative, and it was very, everything was wrong. Like, no, you're doing it wrong there, but no, you're doing it wrong there. And it was, they did the best they could. I am in no way saying anything negative about my folks. I love them all. I have lots of them. And they did the best they could. I've been thinking a lot about it in therapy, because I love therapy. I encourage everybody to do it if you can afford it. And if not, call me. We'll figure something out. I think that I've been doing a lot of thinking about it, and I think starting really at around the age of 10, I started struggling with developmental issues, like ADD, but that was in 1990 when the entire North American continent was prescribed Ritalin in one fell swoop. And so my parents, who were both teachers, were like, no, you're not doing Ritalin, and you need to just figure out how to focus. And then I started dealing with depression and anxiety, and it was, okay, well, you're just not doing well at school. You just need to do better at school, And again, it wasn't that they were doing anything wrong. That was their frame of reference. You just need to do better at school. And, from there, I just kind of went downhill pretty fast. I got drunk for the first time. I think I was 12. Smoked pot probably around the same time. I spent the night over at a girlfriend's house for Shabbat, and her older brother was smoking pot, and I was madly in love with him. So I smoked pot too, because that's what you do when you're 12 or 13 and your crush is smoking pot, you smoke pot. So that's what I did. And it wasn't like, I wasn't one of those people that tried it and the next day I was addicted and I was off to the races. That wasn't my story. It was a kind of a slow progression, but ultimately I was off to the races. It took what it took, but I just started going downhill. In 1997, I tried to kill myself. And at school, and the way that the school that I was at handled that was by expelling me. That was just what they did in the 90s when they didn't know what to do with you in a private Orthodox Jewish school. They kicked you out. And fast forward 20 years, I now go back and speak to their freshman class and their parents every year. So things have changed, which I'm very grateful to say. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you my whole story, because I don't have time, which is really, by the way, the one thing that gives me the most anxiety about only speaking for 10 minutes is only speaking for 10 minutes. I'm like panicking about this all day. I've been talking to Justin and Gabby. But I did a lot of drugs, and I ended up in a lot of really bad situations, and I did a lot of drinking, and I permanently destroyed my mouth. I'm still 11 and a half years later getting dental work done. I struggle with chronic headaches and migraines, which are pretty much a result of having done ecstasy every day for 3 years. And it's just something that I have to deal with as a result of my use. And I spent my entire adolescence and kind of early 20s just afraid of everything that happens in the dark of my life coming out in the light. And it's a terrible way to live. It's a terrible way to feel that people are going to discover who you really are if they find out what you've been up to. And that's why things like this are so important, because we're here talking about who we really are. I am a drug addict. I am an alcoholic. When you put those substances in my body, I become a thief. I become a liar. I become a bad human being. When you take those substances out of my body, I become a remarkable woman. I become a wife. I become a mother. I become an upstanding member of my community. I become a good person. And I become an advocate. But I can't do those things when I'm drinking and when I'm using. And that's where my life took me. My life took me to living in the back seat of my car because I was too ashamed to tell my parents that I had been evicted from my house, from my apartment. You know, my life took me into horrible places. I was kind of joking around about this earlier. My life took me into waking up in other states, having no idea how I got there. That was where my life took me. But today, my life is amazing. I mean, like, I'm married. I have 2 beautiful children. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if I ever thought I'd get married, well, first of all, I was dating a convict at the time. So that would have never been something that ever crossed my mind. So, and nor would I have ever introduced him to my mom. No, maybe that was like 12 years ago. Yeah, that was 12 years ago. So, but like, I actually have a life today. I do. And I have a Jewish community, which to me is something I never thought I would have after leaving the Jewish community that I felt shunned me. You know? And my connection to the Jewish community today is not just the Reform community, the Reconstructionist community, Lubavitch community, the Frum community. It's everybody. And I feel loved and accepted by everybody, and it's because of these conversations that I feel that way. And so like everybody's saying tonight, I encourage each of you, if you know someone, if you feel something, if anything is going wrong and you need to talk, pick up the phone. Because if I hadn't picked up the phone and asked for help, especially from my older brother who's here in Georgia, if I hadn't asked, I would be dead today. In 2012, I buried 13 people that I knew as a direct result of this disease. And I'm actually kind of on call for one more who's about to have the plug pulled because she is dying as a direct result of AIDS, which she got from IV drug use. She's been clean for like 10 years, but her body just can't handle it anymore. But she has 10 years clean, 10 years with her family. I had 10 years with my mom, 9 years with my mom before she passed away. I had time with my grandma before she passed away. And it's all as a result of just asking for help, admitting that I can't do it by myself anymore and I need help. So I don't know if that's what I was supposed to say. It wasn't where I was planning on going at all. And you know, the miracle of Hanukkah, everybody has said such great things. The fact is that like coming out of the darkness of addiction into the light, I just think is such a powerful, and the darkness of mental illness. And I think it's just such a powerful image of coming out into that light. And I think Hanukkah is just such a beautiful time of light and of community and of just strength and miracles. And I think those of us who wake up every day having struggled with something, which I think is everybody in the world, it's a miracle and it's powerful. And I gotta say to everybody here who works in the field, and I can't name everybody, but there are a lot of people here who work in the field, and to Gabby and Justin who run this event, thank you so much for quieting the silence and for allowing people like us to come out here and talk about it and not be ashamed, and making it safe for the people like us to come out and talk about it more. So thank you and happy Hanukkah.